Hey, what's up boys? It's your boy Cement Mixer 72 back at again with another video. As promised, the Sprite combo guide is here. Obviously, if you didn't see my last video, I did a Sprite deck profile for the deck I took to my last regional. So if you want the deck profile for this combo video, then you know what to do. I'll put the deck profile in the description. And yeah, today we're doing a cheeky little combo video on your boy Sprite. And yeah, I'm pretty much just going to show you some advice, some stuff on Sprite. See if there's any Sprite fans out there still if you want to learn this deck. I've got some crazy new cards coming. I thought I might as well do this video before I kind of stop playing the deck for a while, because I've got a lot of good stuff coming. Your boy may have picked up a Draco Tail deck core. Whee! I picked up a Draco Tail deck core. I've got the Gem Knight new support coming. I've got the new Jirac support coming out. I've got so much crazy stuff coming, guys. But without further ado, guys, I hope you do enjoy this video, and let's get into the combos. Alright guys, what's up? Now we are into the combo tutorial. And honestly, for the combo tutorial, I've decided I'm going to first show you kind of like segments in the combos and the best cards to have in hand instead of just straight up combos you need to follow. Because I feel like Sprite isn't really like a deck you just want to memorize combos. You kind of just want to memorize mini combos, which lead into different things. Sprint is kind of a mini combo by itself. Gigantic is. So I'm going to just get into the basics and like what the deck can do. And then you can kind of freestyle from there. So I think that's probably a better way of learning the deck. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the basic. Any of the Sprite cards which are kind of like a combo piece are these right here. All of the Sprite cards have the same effect, as in you can special summon it out if you control another level 2. So let's just say the Jet was on the field, you could then special summon the Sprite Blue out. All of the Sprite monsters have that effect, and that's a really strong effect. It's really nice that all of your Sprite cards can be extenders, but it's also a key weakness of Sprite, to be honest. Let's say you had Blue here, right, and they negated its effect. I know it needs to be special summon to get its effect, by the way. Just remember that. You can't normal summon use Blue's effect. It's a special summon effect. But let's say your Sprite Blue got negated. You could then just continue and obviously special summon the Jet, and then the Jet will search. Also note that the Sprite cards, guys, they don't activate when they special summon. They can just special summon. So if anyone tries to call you out, like let's say with the new popular K9 card saying, oh, you special summoned from hand, it's not an activation, so it doesn't make those cards live. So just remember that. But like I was saying, because they need a body on field to special summon out like this, a weakness of the deck is if after you use your normal summon and you have no way of special summoning out, like other cards can special out. Let's say if the card's just negated, yeah, you can continue by special summoning. But if this card was destroyed, let's say, your turn's ended. You can't special summon out without any level 2s on the field. So that's a main weakness of the deck, where if something gets popped, you're kind of in trouble. There are ways to play through. For instance, another one of the starters in the deck, Swap Frog, can special summon itself out by discarding. So if you had that, so if you had a Swap Frog in hand and that, let's say, once again, let's just use that as an example. Let's say you normal summon this, and before you could special summon, they pop this thinking your turn's over. You could then, by discarded one, use Swap Frog's effect, and then you could continue your plays again. But just remember that, guys. So there's just a few things to remember with the Sprite cards. And now let's get onto their effect. So obviously, Blue, when it's special summoned, you can search. You can add any Sprite monster from your deck to your hand, except Sprite Blue, obviously. So this is your main monster search right here. Pretty much, you can special summon out if there's another monster on the field. It has to be a special summon. Your next card is Jet. So Jet can search any of the Sprite spell or trap cards from your deck. So this is really good to grab stuff like, obviously, you have your starter if you're worried about getting hand trapped and not being able to continue your combos. Or if you just, want to keep comboing hard, then you can grab the starter. This is good for going second. Gamma Burst. You also have Smashers, and obviously the most cracked card ever, Double Cross. This card's crazy, guys. You can loop Toad with this. I'll show you the combo later. But those are pretty much your options you can grab with Jet. And then you have Red and Carrot. The reason I've included these, although they're not... Oh, that's not a carrot, is it? Sorry, guys. There's the carrot. So these are a monster and trap negate. So these can come up pretty useful in combos. If you already have some stuff out and you hard draw these, it can be useful to just special summon these. Because let's say they do have some sort of interruption. You could then use their effect to stop it if you really wanted to. And the reason I put these in the combo, although their effects themselves aren't really great as like they don't search anything, they don't continue Sprite combos like that. They are still level 2 bodies, right? So if I don't know, your blue got negated, but you hard drew red or carrot, you can just special summon that out, and then obviously go into your sprint or your gigantic Sprite. So that's why I've included these here, as these can continue your combos as they are just level 2 bodies, right? The other card I want to talk about for the Sprite cards is obviously Starter. This card's really good for extended, but do note that this card will burn you for the monster's attack that you summoned. So if you use Starter to special summon out Sprite Blue, which is common play, because obviously that counts as a special summon, so then you get the search, you would then burn yourself for 1100. So just remember that for time, guys. This card's kind of hard to use in time. But the reason I want to cover this card, although it just seems like a simple search, as this is a quick effect, guys, you can use it in the draw phase, which can play around draw a lot better. So obviously in a normal combo, let's say, I don't know, let's just put red on the field. Let's say you special summon blue out and then search for the jet. If they draw you here, that's it, right? Whereas if you straight up draw Sprite Star, in the draw phase, you can use this, special summon out the blue search jet, and then they can't draw you here because of the draw phase, right? And then in your actual main phase, you then special summon the jet searches whatever, you know, cross, smashes, gamma burst, and then they can draw you. But that's a whole extra search you got because you used Sprite Star in the draw phase. So I thought I'd just show you that. Alright guys, the next cards I want to show you are the other non-Sprite cards, which are also great starter pieces or combo pieces. So the first one's obviously Swap Frog. Swap Frog's really good because it can be special summoned or normal summoned. And this is what will get you into Toad, or can be used in general just to get into your Sprite engine. And the way it works, let's say we normal summon it. You'll use Swap Frog's effect to dump Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier to the graveyard. Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier's effect will let you add the Freezing Chains of Ice Barrier. You can then place it on the field as continuous so it stays. Summon back the Ice Barrier, and then look, you've already got 2 level 2 bodies. And as they are both Aqua, guys, that's right, you can then turn these into a Toad. So that's one thing you can do. As well as that, like I said, you can special summon this card. So pretty much, if you straight up draw both of these, right? If you straight up hard draw both of these, you can actually make this really easily, because you use Swap Frog's effect to special summon itself out, discard the Mirror Mage. Mirror Mage adds the Freezing Chain. Freezing Chain revives, and then you can go into that straight away into the Toad. Or if you want, as this is 2 bodies, this can also go into the gigantic Sprite or the Sprint. So this is what I'm saying, guys. It's good to just like not memorize just complete lines. It's better to just understand what each card can do for you. And remember, this was without the normal summon because we special summoned Swap Frog. But that's pretty much Swap Frog's use in the deck. Special summon itself out. It can easily make Toad. It can continue your plays. You can special summon this card, Swap Frog, with gigantic Sprite. So let's say you've already used your Sprite cards. You can just summon this out. And then once again, you can dump the Mirror Mage. So it's also another combo line route you can go. The next card I want to kind of go over are obviously the Nimble cards. These have multiple uses. If you hard draw Nimble Beaver, you can normal summon it out and then special summon the Angler from deck or graveyard. Once again, this is straight up 2 bodies. So obviously normal summon, special summon out. You could then, if you had other cards in your hand, special summon them out if they're Sprite cards. But once again, that will then go into the gigantic or the Sprint. Another thing, this is pretty well known, but Sprint, when you summon Sprint, you can actually dump Angler. And Angler's effect in the graveyard will then let you special summon 2 beavers to your side of the field. Another really common combo piece. Another thing is, because obviously this Angler's effect activates when it's sent to the graveyard from the hand or deck. So this is also, once again, synergy with Swap Frog, because obviously you can special summon Swap Frog by discarding the Angler. The Angler will then special summon the 2 beavers, and then obviously you can still do the Mirror Mage play. And look at that, you have 4 bodies off of just hard drawing these 2, which is kind of crazy. And also note, guys, if you normal summon Beaver and summon out the Angler, this doesn't stop you from using Angler's effect in the graveyard. That's why you always run 3 beavers, right? For example, from here, if we then link off into Sprint, and then use Sprin's effect to dump the Angler, we can still then go into the 2 Beavers here and continue our plays. So that's always why I recommend running the 3 Beavers. I wouldn't ever lower this. All right, guys, that is kind of the main combo pieces in the Sprite deck in terms of the main deck monsters. I'm now just going to quickly go over the kind of the main cards of the extra deck. These are kind of the main 2, obviously Gigantic, Spright and Sprint. These are kind of your main combo pieces. A few things about these cards. Gigantic is always really good to go into first. So obviously this is just any two level 2 bodies. One of Gigantic Sprite's effects is, for this card's XYZ summon, you can treat link 2 monsters you control as level 2 monsters for material. So you can already probably guess what that means. If you started Sprint, and you can actually use it as material for Gigantic Spright. So let's say you had Sprint and Red on the field, you could use these 2 as material for the Gigantic Spright if you need to. Don't forget you can do that. But in terms of this card's crazy because once again it can search. When you activate its effect, neither player can special summon for the rest of this turn except level/rank/link 2 monsters. And guys, you know what that means, right? You play through Nib when you use Gigantic Sprite's effect. So it's always good to use this Gigantic Spright first if you can, because it beats Nib. Also, you might think, wait, doesn't this also beat all the K9 cards and stuff like that? Because your opponent can't special summon unless they're level 2s. Correct. That's why this card is actually crazy right now. But like I said, when you make this card, there's kind of 2 main plays I'd recommend going for. And the first main play to use Gigantic Spright for is to get into the rest of your Sprite engine. So this would mean you hadn't special summoned out Blue or anything like that yet. So the main thing you would do in this combo, that would be like if you, let's say, used your Nimble Beaver and Angler to do it. So obviously you normal summon the Beaver gets Angler. These 2 go into the Gigantic Spright, and obviously you haven't gone into your Sprite engine yet. So from there you could detach a material off Gigantic Spright. Obviously this now means that everything's locked to level 2 rank 2 link 2s. You'd then special summon the Sprite Blue from deck. Sprite Blue can add the Jet, and then Jet can search, and obviously you can go once again to your starter, or I like to grab Cross as well, but you can also grab Smashers if you want. You grab anything, but that's kind of like your main first play if you haven't used your Sprite cards yet. But obviously a lot of the time you may also have used your Sprite cards to go into the Gigantic Spright. Let's say you had a pretty bad, actually let's just say you had a hand where you have Angler, right? You normal summon it. It doesn't really do anything when it's normal summon, but let's say you hard drew the Blue, right? You could use Blue's effect, grab the Jet's effect, grab the Cross, right? And in this scenario you've already used your Blue and your Jet, right? So when you make Gigantic Spright like this, you can't really search your Sprite cards. You can, obviously, you could if you wanted to, special summon Red or Carrot if you valued that negate. But another thing you can do, you can just summon Swap Frog, guys. Come on. And then with Swap Frog's effect, obviously you could then dump the Mirror Mage, add the Freezing Chains, and then Freezing Chains, obviously, special summons itself out. And that's another play you can do if you've already used that Sprite package. And then obviously from here, if you really wanted to, you could use these 2 to go into the Sprint to continue the plays with the Beaver. Or if you still wanted the Toad here, let's say with this board right here, you need 2 Aquas, right? So if you link one of these off, you can't get Toad here, but you still can actually, because obviously you can link these into the Toad, and then you could use Gigantic Spright and the Jet to go into the Sprint, and then obviously the Sprint then dumps the Angler. So there are multiple lines. As I'm trying to teach you, the Sprite isn't super complicated, right? It's just once you understand what each part of the deck can do, you can then apply it to different stuff. Another cool interaction with a Gigantic Spright, guys, I just want to quickly show you. Let's say you have a Gigantic Spright. You've used 1 material, obviously, in turn 1. And let's say you just have a 1 material Gigantic Spright left. This is kind of your OTK combo. You switch back to your turn. Obviously, you would want to put this in attack now because you're attacking for game. You'd obviously activate Sprite's effect. Spright then special summon Blue. Remember, make sure it's in attack mode as well. Blue grabs Jet. Jet can then obviously special summon because you have level 2 bodies. And then Jet searches Gamma Burst, right? And then, obviously, when you go into attack phase, use Gamma Burst. All of your monsters are crazy buff and you can attack for game. That's kind of like a neat little combo you could do. Like turn 2 or obviously 3, 4. But it's so simple, right? You just attach material, Blue, Jet, Gamma. It's so simple to remember. A nice way to OTK pretty much. Next up, we're going to talk about Sprint, guys. Let's just special summon it out. Let's say we just special summoned it out. Obviously, the main combo you can do, dump the Angler to Graveyard, and then summon out the 2 Beavers. So that's kind of your main play. And then from there, obviously, you can go into Gigantic Sprite if you want. If you've already used Gigantic Sprite, you can go to something like Melffy of the Forest, obviously, and then search for your Melffy cards. But that's kind of the bread and butter combo, right? You just dump Angler, get 2 beavers for free. I know, let's say you've run out of beavers, guys, right? Let's say, I know, it's not turn 1 or you couldn't do this for some reason. Another play you can do is, let's just say your board was this, right? And you want to kind of get another body, but you don't want to get rid of the Sprint. You don't only have your option of dumping Angler. You can also remember you can dump the Mirror Mage if you haven't used that. Mirror Mage then grabs the Freezing Chains, and then we can summon that back out, right? So that's just another quick way of using Sprint, and then obviously that can go into other stuff like your Gigantic Sprite if you need to, but that's just another way if you've already used your Anglers or your Nimble Beavers or anything like that. The next cards that are important, guys, I would say in the deck, a Silhouette Rabbit and Melffy of the Forest. These are 2 cards you can go into once you've already set up your board. Let's say we already have our Sprint out. We already have our Sprite out, and we've just special summoned 2 beavers, right? So I'll put my Sprint there so you can actually see it, guys. So from here, you kind of have a few options. If you haven't been drolled yet, right? By the way, this deck's really good playing into droll, so just remember that. But if you haven't been drolled yet, you can make the Melffy of the Forest, and then obviously detach a material, and that will search out your Catty. And guys, if you don't know what the Melffy package does, it's basically a crazy little combo, right? Let's say you would end turn here, and in the end phase, you can actually special summon Catty out. And then, if you read Catty's effect, if your opponent's normal special summons a monster except during the damage step, or if an opponent's monster targets this card for an attack, you can return this card to hand, then add 1 beast monster from your deck to your hand except Melffy Catty. So basically, when you do this, you would wait for them to normal summon or special summon. You can then bounce this back to hand and search the Penny. But this also triggers Melffy of the Forest, which reads, if another face-up Melffy monster you control returns to your hand, except during the damage step, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack. Also, its effect negated while it's face-up on the field. So, you can use this as a negate as well. Let's say they've just normal summoned a monster and you'd want to negate that effect. You can then obviously bounce the Catty, use its effect to negate the monster on field, and then you can special summon the Penny, and then use Penny's effect, guys, that's right, to go into Synchro Summon using a card in hand as well, to go into, that's right, Herald of the Arclight, man. This card's crazy, guys. It's got a Floodgate effect and it's an Omni Negate. So you can do that all. So you get a Monster Negate plus a Floodgate and a Omni Negate. Guys, you know how crazy that is? But that was just from the beaver. What happens, let's say you got drolled. What happens if you got drolled? Look at that, drolled. Oh no, my opponent's drolled me. Obviously, you can't search with Melffy of the Forest, so what do? Well, another play you can do is use these 2 to link someone into Silhouette Rabbit, and Silhouette Rabbit can set a trap. So obviously that plays through droll. And then on your opponent's turn, obviously, when you activate this, Silhouette Rabbit will trigger. If a card in the spell trap zone is special summoned to the monster zone, except during the damage step, you can target 1 spell trap your opponent controls and destroy it. So, this card's really good for 1 destroying stuff like field spells or continuous cards. So, let's say you can hold this for if you know your Versing Saint, which has like an important field spell, activate its effect to special summon itself out. Rabbit will then pop that card. Or you can special summon this out prematurely. Special summon this card as effect once. So once per turn, when your opponent would special summon a monsters, while this card is in your monster zone, you can send it 1 continuous spell trap to the graveyard and then negate the summon. So if you know that there's going to be nothing useful to pop with Rabbit, you can just use this early, special it out, and then when they special summon a monster, you can send this and it's gone. So that's another thing you can do under droll. Also here, you guys, you could link these 2 into an SP if you really wanted to. But the other thing that I like to do, guys, is this is why I run it. You can actually turn these 2, depending on the matchup, obviously. You can turn these 2 beavers into a Degen Buster. And Degen Buster is pretty much just a quick effect monster negate. And it also inflicts 500 damage to your opponent when it's used. So this card's actually kind of cool in time. It's kind of a time card as well as a card if you get drolled. Or, I don't know, you just want another monster negate. You can make it with just 2 level 2s, obviously. And then if you are in time and you switch sides, obviously your opponent's kind of like is a bit screwed. Because if they activate effect, you can then use a Degen Buster's effect to negate it. And then burn them for 500. So that's another interesting thing you can do with the Degen Buster. Alright guys, I hope all of that made sense. And now that I've kind of explained all the basics to you like that, I now kind of wanted to show you some combos that you can see how the deck works and why you kind of want to know that sort of information. And now with the knowledge I've taught you, you can hopefully kind of freestyle yourself. Whereas, you know, if I know the blue got negated, you know what to do. And you wouldn't just be like, oh, now what do I do? Because you just followed a combo guide. So let's start with a simple combo of just a beaver. So let's say your hand was like completely tragic and you pretty much just drew a beaver and some hand traps or something like that. So we'd normal summon beaver. Beaver grab Angler, and then in this case, remember, you have two bodies, so we're actually going to go into the gigantic Sprite. Obviously, we haven't used our Sprite cards yet, so we're going to detach one from gigantic Sprite, special summon the blue. Blue's going to add the jet. Jet can then special summon. In this case, I'm going to grab the double cross in our hand now, obviously. We're then going to link these two off into a Sprint. That we'll then use Sprint's effect, dumping the Angler, special summon out two beavers. These two beavers will then go into a Melfi of the Forest, and then we'll detach Melfi of the Forest material, search out the caddy. We'll then set cross, end our turn. In the end phase, special summon caddy out, and there's kind of a board with literally just one normal summon beaver. And then obviously you've got the caddy bounce with the monster negate. You've then got the return effect of Sprint. You've also got the Penny effect to make the Omni negate. You then also have Cross's effect, which can steal a card or attach it as material. And that was all off just one card, guys. One card. So think your hand's going to have 5, and there's just a basic combo you could have done with just that one card. Alright, guys, another combo I'll show you. I'll show you another combo with Beaver Blue. Once again, these are both 3-ofs in the deck, so it's another common combo. Obviously, this could be anything, and you could still, any level 2 monster, and you could still special summon the blue out. But I just kind of want to show you another line where we use gigantic Sprite for a different reason. Obviously, because we'll be using the Sprite package in the start of the combo, so we won't have to summon it with gigantic Sprite. That's why I was kind of showing you the options you can use with the deck, right? So obviously, to start with, let's normal summon Beaver. Beaver will special summon out the Angler. And then here, guys, you kind of have the choice. You can either special summon blue out now, or if you want, just go into the gigantic Sprite now. So which I'm going to do, we'll then detach one of the beavers. And then from here, guys, because we know we have access to the blue in hand, we actually going to grab the Swap Frog. Then we use Swap Frog's effect to dump the Mirror Mage. Mirror Mage will add the Freezing Chain to revive itself. We can then go into Toad, and I want to make sure this is in front of where we're going to summon Sprint for the very reason of we're going to loop Toad, guys. I'm going to show you how to loop Toad. So from here, we can then obviously normal summon, special summon the blue out. Sorry, let's move the graveyard a bit. Special summon the Jet out. Jet in this case is obviously going to grab the double cross. We're then going to link off the Jet and the blue into the Sprint. Sprint effect, going to dump the Angler to grave. Angler will special summon out 2 beavers. We then have a plethora of plays again. So we could go for something like the Dejin Buster. We do have our Toadally Awesome linked to our Sprint right now, so we wouldn't want to go for the Rabbit. But in this case, obviously, we are going to go for the Melfi of the Forest. Detach 1 to grab the K. Also, guys, if you do hard draw K, you don't really need to ever go into this, but yeah, obviously for now we do. And then we'll set our cross in our end phase, summon the caddy out. And look how crazy this board is, guys, from that 2-card combo. All right, yo, guys, this is a cut, as you can probably tell, because the cards probably shifted a bit. But I forgot to mention an important thing about Toadally Awesome in the actual video. For some reason, I just decided not to go over it. So I thought I'd quickly make an edit in this video so I can actually show you another cool interaction with Toadally Awesome and how to actually use it properly. So obviously, after you end phase, you special summon out the K. Another thing you can do is during the standby phase of your opponent's turn, you can detach material from Toadally Awesome and then special summon a frog to your side of the field. And then Swap Frog's effect will dump another frog to the graveyard. And this is good, and should always do this because one, you get another free body on the field. But 2, let's say you didn't actually have, I don't know, the Melfi of the Forest there. Obviously, all our zones are taken up. Let's say you didn't have this, but you did have the Toad. And let's say you had red on the field, right? Red needs a target to negate. So if you do have the Toad, you can detach, special summon 1 out and send 1 to the graveyard. And then you have a body to use for the red without having to destroy anything else, which is great. But obviously that was just one thing I wanted to show you. But let's say our board was how it is. So with the Melfi here, the caddy here, you detach 1 from Toad Then you can special summon out a Swap Frog here, send one to the graveyard. And then during your opponent's turn, obviously, once again, you have the Catty Bounce, which will then go into the Penny, and then obviously that can get you your Herald. But when you use Toad first time, you send this to the graveyard, and then using Toad's effect, you can add back to hand. So the safe plan, you can add the Beaver back for follow-up next turn. But if you want to be extra greedy with it, you can also add a Swap Frog back. So let's just do that version first. And then once you add the Swap Frog back to hand, you can then use your cross effect, obviously, to summon back the Toad. And then when your opponent negates again, you can activate Toad, and Toad actually lets you use aqua monsters from your hand as cost. So then you can actually discard that. So that's just another great thing you can do, and I thought I'd show you that. And then when it goes to the graveyard again, then you can grab your Nimble Beaver. So I thought I should just show you that as like an important thing to do with Toad, and how to like get 3 extra bodies. Because look, if they don't destroy this, you also then have another body to use next turn, and you kept your Toad on the field, which is crazy, by adding that other Swap Frogs back to hand. But I thought I'd quickly just make a little edit in this video to show you kind of how that works. But then you also have the Omni Negate here. So you have 1 Omni Negate, 2 Omni Negates with the loop, the return, the Monster Negate. Like, guys, come on. From a 2-card combo, like, what more do you need? What more do you need, guys? Another cool thing you can do, guys, this deck can play through Shifter. So obviously Shifter's a one-off right now, but against some decks it's really relevant, like Memento. So I actually side Shifter, and when you use it, pretty much do all your combos. You just can't really use Sprint's effect in the graveyard to obviously dump the anglers. But you can still do the rest of the cards, guys. The heads up with Shifter. As well as Droll, obviously, guys, Droll is not that great against this deck, because Gigantic Sprite can special summon from deck. Sprint dumps to graveyard and special summons from deck, doesn't add to hand. So even through stuff like Shifter, Droll, this deck's fine. And remember, Gigantic Sprite also stops you from ever getting nibbed. So you're actually you're chilling hard, boys, with this deck. Another cool interaction, guys, is I want to show you what happens if you hard draw Mirror Mage in your hand and you don't really have a way to get rid of it. I'm going to show you a really neat trick you can use. So for that trick, we are just going to use the same combo as last time, actually. It's just an easy way to show you. So let's say our hand has these 3 cards in it. I'm going to show you how you can get the Mirror Mage to the graveyard with this combo line. So normal summon Beaver. Beaver grabs Angler, alright? Once again, we're going to go into Gigantic Sprite. And then special summon out. Have you guessed what it is yet, guys? That's right, Swap Frog. Swap Frog now, obviously, can't dump Mirror Mage because we have it in hand. And we're not going to run more than one of those. You can dump another Swap Frog to grave if you'd like. But that's not what the main part of this combo is. So obviously, we still have our blue effect to special summon itself out. But Swap Frog can target itself to return itself to hand, guys. Did you know that? It can do that. So the reason we special summoned the frog with a Gigantic Sprite, we can then use Swap Frog's effect to return itself to hand, and then we can use this effect again to special summon itself and discard a card. So obviously we can discard the Mirror Mage, guys. And obviously with that, we once again have Freezing Chains. We can go into the Toad. We're going to continue our plays with Jet. Like, see what I'm saying, guys? See what I'm saying? That's a cheeky little tech I thought you should know about Swap Frog. Alright, guys, another combo I want to show you. Just another thing I want you to think about. You're saying, like, going into Sprint first instead of a Gigantic Sprite. So I'm going to show you with, like, a 1-card starter here with literally starter, kind of, Sprite starter, kind of funny, right? But obviously, if you drew this and, let's say, 4 hand traps, first thing you do, obviously, in the draw phase, you want to use this to not play into Droll. Sprite starter, obviously there's only one real choice here. We're going into the blue. Blue effect, grab the Jet. And obviously now Droll's live, right? So summon out Jet here, and then Jet will grab us. Remember, we can't even search starter because we've just used it. We can search a double cross here. And now even if they Droll us, that's kind of like the last search we really needed to do. So we're actually chilling, right? So now I want you to think. A lot of the time we've been going into Gigantic Sprite first, right? But if we do this here, what options do we have? Well, we've already used the Sprite cards, right? So we do have the option of going into the other Sprite card. So you could go into red or carrot here, but this is kind of horrible, right? It doesn't give us much power. You could still make Sprint with these two, but it's not really a great method, right? So I bet you're thinking, well, you could then instead, you could summon out the Swap Frog with Gigantic Sprite, right? And then obviously get your Mirror Mage out with the chains. But the problem with this is you then can't make Toad, right? Well, you can make Toad here, but then that's it. You can't really make Sprint without getting rid of your own Toad. So what do you do here? Well, what you do here is you don't go into Gigantic Sprite first. Here, you value the Sprint dump more because you've already used your Sprite cards, right? And you don't want to have to use your Swap Frog and Mirror Mage to go into the Sprint, because obviously you could then dump Angler and make a rank 2. You want that Omni Negate Toad on board, right? That's what our win con is, loop in the Toad, right? So instead of doing all of that, obviously we don't want to lose our Swap Frog combo yet by summoning it off of Gigantic. So instead here, when we just have Blue and Jet on the field, we're actually going to go into the Sprint first, because the Sprint can then dump the Angler, obviously, and that can summon out the 2 Beavers. And look, we're in a lot better spot now, right? Because we've already made the Sprint. We can then make the Gigantic Sprite. Gigantic Sprite can activate its effect to special summon the Swap Frog. The Swap Frog can then use its effect to obviously dump Mirror Mage, Chain. I'm not going to put the Chain down, but obviously then make the Mirror Mage. And then we can go into Toadally Awesome here. Do you see how that way we still was able to keep our 2 Aquas and still make Toad here? And obviously we'd set the Sprite double there. And obviously the combo's pretty much Sprint and 2 Toadally Awesomes. But you got to remember that was just off of 1 Sprite starter. So I've just kind of shown you the value of going into Sprint first and not Gigantic Sprite. Obviously, you don't get that lock if you don't go into Gigantic Sprite first. But I just wanted to show you the possibility. Alright guys, I hope that helps some of you out with this deck. I'm now actually going to do 2 test hands before ending the video. And I was kind of trying to show you the importance of like not just memorizing combo lines. Obviously, it's nice knowing them and being able to do them without even thinking. But knowing how the deck operates, I think, is a lot more important. So I thought this video would kind of help with sort of understanding the exact routes we were trying to do and kind of like how the deck interacts with itself. Without further ado, let's do a start testing hand. So we start Cross, Swap Frog, Starter, Droll, and Ash. All right, this hand's pretty cheeky, right, guys? So if we're going first, obviously we have the Ash and Droll for next turn. We have the Swap Frog in hand and Starter. So obviously, once again, we're going to start with Starter in the draw phase. And this will special summon out Blue, who will grab the Jet. And now we're playing into Droll here. Droll, obviously, we got the Cross in hand. And we've used Starter. So we can go to Smashers or Gamma Burst. Here, I'm valuing the Smashers more, because that's another layer of interaction for our opponent's turn. I'm then actually going to... I want to guarantee some of our plays go off here. So I think, let's say, our spot's there. I'm actually going to just normal summon the Swap Frog now. Because obviously we use Starter's effect. So we haven't actually used our normal summon. Swap Frog dumps Mirror Mage. Mirror Mage grabs Chains. Chains special summons back Mirror Mage. And now we can make the Toad here, which means we've still playing through Nib, and we're playing for other hand traps, so our opponent can't even negate any cards now. And then here we're going to link these 2 off into the Sprint, obviously making sure it points to Toadally Awesome. Then dump the Angler, especially summon out 2 Beavers. And now guys, here you kind of want to decide what you want to value more, because you could go into the Sprite, Gigantic Sprite here. But we've already used Swap Frog's effect, right? We've already used Swap Frog's effect and our Sprite engine. So you can still go into Gigantic Sprite, but all that's really going to get you, if you want to, is that red or that carrot. Or, so you could do something like that. We have the Smashers and the Cross here. So we still have the Loop 2 with the Toad, the Sprite turn. We have the Smashers here, and we have the red effect or the carrot effect, and then also we have our hand traps that we started with, which is Ash and Droll. This also is good because you can then use the, obviously we'd already only have 1, you could then use Gigantic Sprite next turn to pressure for game by obviously being able to go into your Sprite combo again and grab Gamma. So that's what an argument why you'd want the Sprite here with the red. The other option, instead of going into the Gigantic here, we could have just done something as simple as make the Melfield the Forest here. And then obviously during our end phase, we special summon the Caddy out, and then we still have Ash, Droll, Sprint, Toad twice, Smashers, Monster Negate, and then even another Omni Negate, obviously with the Caddy and the Penny. So I personally would go this route, because having another Omni Negate and a Monster Negate is crazy, and I think it beats the advantage to use Gigantic Sprite again, because obviously this is more interactions. So that's kind of probably what I would do with this line right here. So that's one test hand done, guys, and let's go on to another one. Alright guys, we're going to do one more test hand. I hope you guys did learn something from this video. You know, that's what it's all about. That's what I'm trying to get out of this channel, you know, teach some of you guys some stuff. And if you have more tips in the comments below, I'm always down to learn, you know, so just feel free to put it in the comments below. But anyway, let's see our final test hand. Swap Frog, Droll, Swap Frog, Penny, and Nimble Beaver. Alright, this hand's kind of tough, but it's not like terrible, it's playable. So from here, you have a few plays. You can normal summon the Beaver, or you could go Swap Frog straight away, try and bait out some negations maybe. So I think that's what we're going to do actually. We're going to special summon Swap Frog, so we haven't used our normal summon yet, by discarding the other Swap Frog. Swap Frog effect, this is the ultimate way to make sure your other plays didn't get negated. Get the barrier down there, get the freezing chain, activate it, there we go. And we're then going to immediately hard make the Toad. Obviously they kind of have to stop this, otherwise they can't really interact with us on other things. But they don't have to, but you know, we've got the Toad down for safety now. With the normal summon the Beaver effect to grab Angler. In this line, I don't really want to have to like use the Toad on like something like a Nib. And especially, I know you wouldn't really play Nib if you're versing Spright, but in game 1 you would still have in your deck. So we're actually going to go straight into Gigantic here. User's effect, obviously we haven't gotten our Spright engine yet. So we'll get blue there, blue our Jet special summon. And once again, I grab the Crosshair. You could grab Star, you could grab Smashers, but I just like the Cross, so we're grabbing the Cross. We'll then go into the Sprint here, make sure it's above the Toad. Sorry about the glare, but you know what card it is. Sprint obviously dumps the other Angler to grave like that. Special summons out 2 more Beavers. We then have a few things to go into. Obviously our Toadally Awesome's kind of locked there. We hard drew Penny as well, so in this case, this is why I run it. In this case, I'm actually just happy to go into the old Dijon Buster, which is obviously a monster effect burns. And then I would just set Cross here. Obviously, we have the Droll for next turn. Sprint effect, Toad revive of Cross. And we have Dijon Buster. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. That's the end of today's video. I hope you learned something. If I missed saying, obviously don't forget to put it in the comments below. And obviously if you did enjoy this video, give your boy a sub, a like, you know. This was just kind of like, I wanted to, obviously I took this deck to my last regional. And although like I won't be playing that much more of the deck, I still think it's good. You know, it's not terrible. And obviously whenever new like level 2 support comes out for any deck, new archetype, anything, this deck becomes relevant again, right? And guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. We have come to the end of it. I hope you did learn something if you actually do like this deck. And yeah, I've got another regional coming up, guys. So yeah, expect loads more content. I've got it coming up in a month. It's actually on the 7th of September. And yeah, I will be taking Draco Tail to that tournament. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can of the deck. So stay tuned for new videos. And yeah, I've just got loads of stuff planned. You know, I want to go over all the meta deck. But I've also got a few more pet decks to do. So I also have Voiceless Voice coming. I've got Sword Soul, Super Quant. And then, like I said, more meta decks like Draco Tail, Gem Knight. Like, I've got loads of stuff planned, guys. So as always, stay tuned for the next one. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!